Wait, what's going on with the channel name? Are we caught in some kind of time warp here? Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. My God, does it feel good to say that again? Yes, I have indeed taken a step back to my roots in some ways. If you would like to know more about why the channel name has shifted and why we're back to the old intro and outros, then you can go and take a look at the live stream that I did last night talking about the changes on the channel. If you don't really want to, I'll summarize it for you this way. I changed the channel and things around so that I could do exactly what I wanted to do. And it turns out doing exactly what I wanted to do was pretty much identical to being the magic historian anyways. So we are back to our roots. So let's talk about some magic history, shall we? Let us talk about a world of wont, Segovia. What do I mean by world of wont? Well, you may not know, but there's this thing that exists called the Rabia scale. And this is a scale that they measure planes on in terms of returnability to. What I mean by that is how likely are they to return to a particular plane or to use that plane as a setting. Are we going to go to this plane? Are they going to keep reusing it? You may have noticed, maybe noticed that they keep going back to Ravnica just a little bit. Just a teeny weeny little bit, right? So there's certain planes they keep revisiting. Ravnica, Innistrad, and there's some planes you don't really hear from again. Well, I'm going to talk about a plane we've only basically marginally heard about. It actually only exists on one card and one plane chase card. That is the plane of Segovia. Now, the likelihood of visiting this plane is pretty much zero. The chances of an entire set or multiple sets being set in Segovia, is really, really low. There's a number of reasons for this. So let's start out by showing you what we know about Segovia, what exists currently. So we're going to start out with what I saw way back in the day, back when I started Magic Gathering, with the first expansion I ever cracked, and that was Legends. And we're talking about Segovian Leviathan. This is 1 blue and 4 colors for a 3/3 Island Walker, with a biblical quote on it. Again, we're going all the way back to the Bible days. Sweet Lord of Jesus. So yeah, back in the day, they used to put biblical quotes and just old literature quotes on Magic cards, which is cool in some places, kind of stood out in other places. Personally, I like that now they don't do that. I like that they add in things that world build for the current world instead of just kind of picking old but cool sounding quotes or things like that. It's more interesting and flavorful to create new quotes. So what is the Segovian Leviathan? Well, it's actually the largest creature on Segovia. Segovia is a minute plane, and by that I mean everything on it is about 1/100th the size that it would regularly be. If you've ever played Mario Brothers and you go to that world where everything is giant and you're tiny, it's like the reverse of that. Except when you go to Segovia, you are magically changed down to the size of the Segovian. So any planeswalkers that visit Segovia are shrunk right down. Now there's a number of problems with this plane. Two major problems that make it so we are pretty much guaranteed to never return there. One of them is the Segovian Leviathan that I showed you. Take a look at the artwork. You have on it the Leviathan surrounded by multiple whales, right? Now, this Segovian Leviathan is the biggest creature in all of Segovia. It's the largest that it gets, and it's only a 3/3. Look at the little whales. Those little whales would be the equivalent of like 1/1 creatures. As a full-sized human, if you went there and didn't shrink down, you could be like, come on, whale, let's do this. I can take you down. Like, you could fight a whale, no problem, one-on-one and have a decent chance of winning because of how teeny tiny they are. So you look at the Segovian Leviathan, he's 3/3. In Magic terms, that's roughly the size of like an earth elephant, right? Like 3/3 cards are like elephants, or, you know, like your centaurs, your beefy centaur guys will be 3/3, like a centaur courser. That's where you're going to have the same level as Segovian Leviathan. So if 3/3 is the biggest that it gets, how in the world are you going to make interesting creatures that are, and you can't make creatures that are bigger than that. So imagine playing a Magic set where there were no creatures bigger than 3/3. That would lead to some slow and boring games, and it would feel like there would be a lack of diversity in the creatures. There are people who love big, fat, smashy, dominant, crush your face style creatures like me. I love big, especially green, big green, like just punch you in the face, get wrecked, like Galta, Gigantosaurus. Those guys, they make my heart thump with happiness. So we would be going to a world where the biggest thing would be this 3/3 Leviathan. Blue's got the biggest creature out there, and it's a 3/3 for 5. How terrible. How absolutely terrible would that be? But there's also another major problem that makes it very difficult to return to Segovia, and that's one of optics. If you look at the other card that we're going to show you here is from Plane Chase. It's a part of Segovia, and it's the Hippodrome, which is like a racetrack, almost like a chariot racetrack style. It's like some ancient Greek-inspired kind of stuff. So if you look at the artwork, it's painted in a style. Argyle did it in a way where, because of the blurriness of the people up on the one bleachers and the little dotted heads of everybody on the further bleachers, it gives a sense of like the miniature aspect. And they would have to try and do that with all of the artwork, because what happens is whenever a planeswalker goes to Segovia, they shrink down to the size of the Segovians, 1/100th scale roughly. So an entire like battalion of goblin troops would be crushed under a regular sized human's foot, no problem. Just boom, oh look at that, we just wiped out a whole load of infantry. It's that kind of a scenario. So in a world where everything is tiny, nothing is perceived to be tiny, right? Like just take for example, if Earth was 1/100th the size of other, let's say other worlds had people living on them and those people were regular sized, and Earth was only 1/100th the size, we don't see it walking around, right? All our buildings look the same size. Okay, we've got buildings in scale. Like the level of scale makes it so that you can't tell. If everything is small, then everything is normal. So it would look just like every other world. Ravnica, Lorwyn, and it wouldn't have anything really to hook it and make it special. Segovia is a mostly water-covered plane as well, which leads to problems of, okay, we don't have that much land mass to begin with, and then on top of that, we've got to worry about the scope and the scale of people and how to keep transmitting the concept, everything's tiny, everything's tiny, everything's tiny. Everything being tiny is more of a novelty than a story, right? It would just, there's no real way for them to effectively transmit this concept. So when you combine the fact that they would be limited to making smaller creatures, but when you looked at the smaller creatures, your brain wouldn't go, oh, okay, this is a smaller plane. Like when you look at the Segovian Leviathan card, there's no part of your brain that goes, oh, this is from a smaller plane of existence. Your brain just goes, why is this Leviathan smaller? You're not going to connect it the same way. It's just, it doesn't transmit. So it's been put very low on the Rabaya scale in terms of returnability. The likelihood of going back to Segovia is very, very low. Interestingly enough, Lorwyn was also ranked pretty lowly. Not quite as lowly as Segovia, but close. But, like I said in my previous video, we're going to return to Lorwyn. Marrow did a poll, and people overwhelmingly said, we want to go back to Lorwyn. And that was followed up by another poll saying, what kind of mechanics would you like to see in a return to Lorwyn? And the reason they're doing that is they're afraid. Lorwyn didn't do that well in terms of a plane. People weren't happy with it the previous time, so they're a little bit hesitant to go back. But the difference between a place like Lorwyn and Segovia is vast. So Segovia is pretty much an absolute no-go. We're looking at a situation where, in all honesty, it's ranked an 8 out of 10, but I feel like with its drawbacks, it really should be ranked a 9 or 10 out of 10. 10 being the highest and the least likely to return to. In fact, Rabaya is ranked a 10. That's what the whole scale is named after. Now, keep in mind, Wizards of the Coast does change their mind on how they're going to do things, but unlike Lorwyn, like if let's say Mark Rosewater did another poll and said, what planes would you like us to return to, and put Segovia on there? How many people even know what Segovia is? Did you know Segovia before I mentioned it? Not many people do, and there's not much meat to it. We've only got the Segovian Leviathan card, we've got the Hippodrome Plains card, and then we have some offhanded comments about bullets, which is how we know that the place is mostly submerged in water. That's it. That's all the information there is about Segovia. So with that, how likely is it to be ranked in a poll for let's return there? I don't see much interest in it. It's something that you would get bored of very, very quickly. You would be lucky to sustain one set from it, let alone